Hey girl, you can trust in me, baby. You're all I want, baby. You're everything I need. Ooh, baby. That's just a little something for you.
Hey, I love it. You should see me. I was over here.
That's right. My voice was a little strained because I've been talking a while, but yeah, that's a little something, okay?
No, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. I can't wait to leave. I'm trying to decide, do I want to lead with that? Yeah, y'all know I always like to put a little something of the guest right up front. And that is from today's guest, Tio Hardiman, showing us his smooth crooner side. And I'm so glad that he's my first guest. You guys are going to enjoy him. But before I get into that, may I just say, I'm excited. It is season 3. This is our first episode of season 3. Whoop, whoop. So first, I just want to say welcome back to my regular listeners. And I also want to say welcome if you're a first-time listener. Hope you enjoy it. Oh my gosh, I hope you enjoy it. I know you will, please. So first, I have to say something at the beginning of this season. Y'all know that I love producing this podcast. It is an avocation. It is a calling, a passion. It is a joy for me. But admittedly, I've been a little small and a little stingy because I've been so pleased as punch to have these conversations, to get them edited, get them up, share them, that I have not put in a lot of energy making sure I get the word out about these amazing brothers and their stories. So I just want you to know that in July, I will be airing episodes every Monday, which is not my usual 2 times a week. My usual is Monday, Wednesday. Just for July, an episode a week every Monday. We're gonna slow into it. Partly, I'm extending my vacay because, everything's opened up and I'm going to get in a couple half marathons in July. And I'm excited and do a little bit just local West Coast travel. Excited about that too. So while I'm doing that and getting the word out, I'm only going to publish every Monday. But beginning in August, I will go back to twice weekly, okay, which will be Monday, Wednesday. Now, what am I going to be doing? First of all, I don't know if you noticed, but if you are already following, you may know that I've been posting a quote a day. See, I have this thing about 365. I know I'm talking a lot at the beginning, but it's season 3 and it's the beginning, so okay. But I have this thing about 365. Now, I did 365 poems in 2018, and then I did 365 doodles in 2019, 2020. And then this podcast came up, and I'm doing 365 interviews. But I fiend for doing that kind of stuff. So beginning July 1st, a few days ago, I started posting a quote a day. And those quotes are from brothers, classic heroes, contemporary heroes, and then the brothers who are on this show, my personal heroes. So you can look forward on Instagram at 365 Brothers or on 365 Brothers, the podcast, our Facebook page. You will find there'll be a quote a day posted, usually around noon. And I just hope you enjoy that. So I'm getting that going too. And we big on statistics for listeners, but we low on numbers when it comes to followers. So that's one of the things I'm also going to focus on. With that, let me just say again about today's episode and what a treat it is. You know how sometimes folks will say, why are y'all so worried about police violence when there's violence within the Black community? I'll tell you why, because we can walk and chew gum. But sarcasm aside, today's episode has a guest who has implemented, studied, and statistically validated a method of reducing violence within communities. Now, it's not magic. It's called mediation. But this brother is highly effective. Highly effective. Let's just say if it worked in Chicago, I'm thinking it can probably work anywhere. So I have links to his website, violenceinterrupters.org, and a link to his show, the Tio Show podcast. All that's in the show notes because after you hear his interview, I know you're going to want to check him out. And so with that, let's do it. Today, I'm speaking to a gentleman who is from and still in Chicago. He's lived on the South Side, the West Side. He is currently president of the Violence Interrupters Incorporated. I first came to know Tio Hardiman, who we're speaking to today, through a Frontline documentary about how he and some other brothers were interrupting violence. And I just think this is such a critical subject, and I'm just delighted to have him with us. Welcome, Tio.
Yes, an honor to be here on the show at 365 Brothers with you here today.
Fantastic. Well, I have been sharing the interrupters with students for years. You relied on people who'd had experience in gangs, and they wanted to interrupt that generational pattern. Can you just share with us, before we get into my standard 11 questions, a little bit about how this came about and how this became your life's passion?
Yes. I created the Violence Interrupters model back in 2004, but mainly I created it based on a true life story. I had to mediate a conflict on my own life. And that's why I know the interrupter program should work for most people if they are trained properly. What happened to a brother of mine, he was incarcerated, and he owed some guys on the streets about $5,000. So they couldn't catch up with my brother. So they caught me walking down the street one day. About 2 carloads of brothers jumped out their car. We as men, I'm not saying I'm the toughest guy in the world, but I was walking down the street and I wasn't going to run. I'm like, I haven't done that to nobody. So, what's happening? So they got the car and they say, look, man, somebody got to pay that debt because your brother left the streets on us $5,000. I say, look, man, we need to, to be honest with you, the way I'm talking, that's the way I talk to them. I say, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have no $5,000 to pay. And one of the guys, you're going to pay that money, and I'm like, look here, man, y'all just coming down on me. Let's try to bring this to a table first, man, before any comments are made or whatever, and they were kind of upset, but we got past that moment that day. And then the guy gave me his number. He said, you need to call me with that money. So I called him, and I got a few friends of mine. I went out and enlisted the support of a few friends of mine, and we sat them down at a table and we processed what took place. Found out my brother did not owe them $5,000. He owed them like $3,800. They put interest on the money. And I told the brothers at the table I wasn't going to pay that debt because my brother's not there. That's something he did. And we came to an understanding because they wanted to do something to me at first. But, I put some brothers at the table that they respected. And, and I'm pretty cool myself. It's just it is what it is. And, we mediated the conflict. I ain't going to get into all that tough man stuff. But the reality, right. I'm still here. I'm still here to tell the story. My life, or whoever's life, lives were, spared. And my brother still owe him the money. Okay. All right.
Wow. That's awesome. And, a lot of people I don't know what other people think or don't think, but, I think there might be some people who are surprised to realize that negotiations are happening on the street about this stuff.
Yes. And then I just want to add, since I created the Violence Interrupters, my staff and we've mediated about 1,200 conflicts over the last, 15 years, whatever the case may be. That's not a big number, but it's a solid number of lives we saved on the front end. And we also help people turn their lives around. Once we mediate the conflict, we do our best to find out what are the next steps with the young men involved in the conflicts to try to help them out. And out of the 1,200 people that we helped, over the last 15 years or so, we track the progress. So about 33% of the people, 30%, we re-enroll them back in school. A lot of them have gone on to obtain their bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. A lot of young men are working. About 32% of them are working a job. The other 30%, we refer them to social service agencies. And probably about a good, 8% of the guys relapse back into their former lifestyle. But with that, an almost 95% success rate with helping to transform the lives of young people in Chicago here.
Whoa. What has me catch my breath is knowing that those 1,200 interventions involve 2 different sides. And then there's the families of those, that are involved in those interventions and the difference that it makes across our lines. I realize the frontline video I'm talking about may be a little dated. It's not the most, it wasn't made last year, but I encourage people to, I encourage you guys to check it out. And I'll have a link to it in the show notes because it really does show you the impact of it. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into these questions. The
Okay.
first one is, what is a favorite song or movie, either now or all time?
Well, I love that movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. The comedy in that particular movie was really exceptional for me. I'm crazy about Brother Eddie Murphy anyway. Martin Lawrence, them guys had me laughing forever. Eddie Murphy talked about the boom, boom, room, baby. That movie Life, I just love that movie. When it comes down to one of my songs out there, it just is so many songs out there. And plus, I sing a little bit, not professionally, but I sing just to entertain myself, right? Sometimes. So I like Big Daddy Kane. I get the job done. I work. Okay, that's one of the rappers. And
that's
one of the,
a good one.
yeah, I get the job. That's old school rap. And then also the brother Kim. Kim is one of my favorite singers of today. Currently, he's one of my favorite singers. That brother can really get down. Brother Kim. Can't Stop Loving You or Share My Life. I love those songs.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have links in the show notes so people can go right to it. Love me some old school rap. That's my day right there.
That's right.
What's a favorite childhood memory?
Well, one of my favorite childhood memories, I really didn't know my father that well, but I think when I was around 4 years old, he took me to Burger King and he brought me a Burger King Whopper, Junior Whopper. That's the only memory I have of him. So I'm laughing now, but he took me to Burger King. And when I became a teenager, I just loved Burger King based on the impression my father left on me when he brought me to my first Junior Burger King Whopper. So that's one of my good childhood memories because I didn't really know my father. Because after that, I didn't really see him anymore. So the reason I say that's a good memory because it is a memory of a young man that at least my father took me to Burger King. I'm laughing as I talk, but I had a lot of issues I had to deal with by not knowing my father that much, and but I always remembered he did that for me. Okay.
Yeah. I know this might sound like a silly follow-up question, but do you have an affinity for Burger King still?
I kind of matured out of the Burger King fantasy, as I got older, because my father wasn't around. I was like, I don't need no more Burger King. I'm cool.
Okay. Well, probably the reason I ask you, that it comes to mind is when I was in college, my thing was, top ramen with some hot sauce.
That's right. I love it. I love it too.
Right. And every now and again, it's like a go-to comfort.
Yes, that's right.
Let's talk about accomplishments. I asked this question in two parts. First, an accomplishment that means the most to you personally, Tio, and then an accomplishment that is the one that gets the most oh or wow from others. So let's talk about the first. Which accomplishment means the most to you personally?
Well, when I obtained my master's degree many years ago, because my grandparents, before they died, they did their best to keep me, just keep me in school, whatever they could do. Because when I was during my grammar school years, my grandparents, they actually enrolled me in Catholic school. But once they passed away, I ended up in, the public schools. And I was kind of born and raised in the heart of the ghetto. So as I dropped out of high school, but I did go back to, to obtain my GED, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, then my master's degree. So what happened as an end result of that, obtaining my master's degree was major.
Okay. What was it? I mean, I know I could just assume it's because, you accomplished it, but what was the thing that you had to overcome most to make that real? Like, what has that be the thing that really, you're the most proud of?
Well, it was a struggle to get there. Dropping out of school, and then I used to run the streets a little bit, messing around with marijuana, drinking, and all that kind of stuff. And basically, I had to turn my life around. Once I turned my life around, I was able to get it all together, clear my mind a little bit, and then go back to school. It took some time, though. It just took some time. It was not easy. It took almost 10 years to, obtain my master's degree. But I did go re-enroll back in college to make sure I made my grandparents happy. That was the main goal there. That's why it just stood out as an accomplishment, because it wasn't so much for me. It was for my grandparents. I didn't want their work with me to go down in vain.
Okay. Got it.
So that's why it was definitely a struggle, because when you let go of drugs, alcohol, and I've been like clean and serene now for about 28, 29 years. Okay. So it's been a long journey for me because, the highs and lows of life, I could have ended up lost on the streets like a lot of my brothers and sisters, just in the extended community out there. A lot of people never got a chance to turn their lives around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is the accomplishment that seems to get the wow or the from others? the most?
Well, when I created the Violence Interrupters, the Violence Interrupters became like the Violence Interrupter initiative spread all throughout the world. Actually, they showing the PBS documentary everywhere, but mainly what's going on is that I got a chance to meet with Prime Minister David Cameron when he was the Prime Minister of the UK, and I met with Queen Noor from Jordan. And for a black man in particular I pretty much was born and raised, like I say, in the heart of the ghetto. And when I got a chance to meet some of them people I see myself as royalty too. So I don't put nobody on no big time pedestal, because when I met with Queen Noor from Jordan, her security was saying, well, you can't get up close on the Queen and take no picture. I have a picture with the Queen hugged up with me like she my girl or something. Okay, you're not gonna tell me I can't meet with the Queen. You got to be off your mind. So that was a wild moment. That's a wild moment, because people say, well, a lot of my friends in the neighborhood, they was like, how did Tio meet with the Queen? Don't worry about it. God is awesome. Okay, God is awesome. That's the bottom line.
Wow. That, and it speaks volumes, not just for what you did in terms of a personal accomplishment, but for the impact you're having, that it's recognized around the world.
Yes, that's right.
You said it was global. How did you get the movement to spread globally? Are you organizing that, or how does that work?
Well, I'm a true believer in God and the Spirit. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. When God gave me the vision for the Violence Interrupters, I just knew it would go like global. I knew it would go global because the Spirit was in me. The Spirit of our ancestors was strong, embedded in me, and everything. All the work that was put into the Interrupters was basically. See, my main message I would like to convey to anybody is when God gives you a vision, He would not give you the vision unless He's going to help you manifest the vision on a higher level. That's just the way it goes. So when I was working at the university back then, I told the people at the university we would make history together back in 1999. And so just by working with the people, the main key is I'm very sincere about saving lives. I believe I was anointed to do this kind of work. And that's how it just happened. So, there's an old saying, if you do what you enjoy doing, God will take care of the rest. He will make sure the resources are available. He would make sure that you can spread the message all over the place. And what it all comes down to is personal relationships. That's how you stop people from hurting another person. If you have a personal relationship with those individuals, then you can talk to them a certain way where they can understand you, so to speak. You join their world, then you bring them into your world, and we all reach a happy medium, so to speak. But that's how the Interrupters, it became, like, say, global. It's global. It hit like I'm not going to say like a tsunami. I'm talking about a positive tsunami, but it hit like a tidal wave, the Interrupters everywhere. And the Violence Interrupters is the main name, though. It's not just the Interrupters. It's the Violence Interrupters.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm quoting from the movie title. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Cool. Okay. I love the reminder to everyone that when God gives you something to do, like He's behind it. Like I love that you were just on faith on that.
Yes.
Now, one of the things you hinted at that the listeners may not know because they haven't seen the show yet, maybe. So did you approach the university?
Yeah, it's the University of Chicago, Illinois, UIC, School of Public Health, okay? That's the University of Illinois, Chicago. And I had been working there, started in 1999, and we had a program called Ceasefire. And through the Ceasefire experience, I worked there from 1999 to 2013, but during the year 2004, I came up with the concept of Violence Interrupters. And it was a struggle in the beginning because, as you notice when you watch the movie, I hired a lot of ex-offenders, guys that ran the streets, guys probably had homicide in their background. Some guys were stick-up guys, drug dealers, and they had turned their lives around. So the university staff, they were like, man, you really want to bring these kind of guys to the university? I said, yes, I need some people with some backbone and fortitude in order to intercept whispers on the street to stop killings. And in the year 2004, just going back in time for a little bit here, there was a 25% reduction in killings in Chicago back during that year. I'm not taking all the credit for it, but I know we definitely played a role. And back again, in 2013, there was another 25% reduction in shootings and killings, homicides in Chicago. And we definitely stepped up to the plate. I must say that. So we track all the work we do. It's not just street outreach. We are higher level intellectual thought leaders. We're not just talking about street talk. You mediate conflicts by understanding both sides of the equation. Then you bring them brothers together and you try to make sense of the madness so people can live their lives in peace because nobody wins when it comes down to conflict if you decide to take matters into your own hands. Somebody goes to the penitentiary, or somebody goes to the cemetery. With violence interrupters, our job is to make sure that does not happen. So I feel good about all the mediations that we were successful in, working out, like the situation with the individuals involved.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope listeners will check out not just the program, but Violence Interrupters Incorporated, because it's just powerful.
Actually, violenceinterrupters.org.
Violenceinterrupters.org. And, y'all have a link in the show notes as well. But definitely check it out. What do you know now that you most wish you'd known at either age 16, 18, or 21? Which age and what do you wish you'd known?
At 16, I wish I had known that running the streets would not pay off at all later on in your life. I wish I could have turned to another way. Not that I was running the streets too bad, but I kind of got caught up in drinking and drugging. And I've been through a few little skirmishes with the law, stuff like that, and the blast from the past. Then the other age, you said, what's the other age?
Oh, well, it's any one of them, but it was 18 or 21. So you're good at 16, but if you have one more, that's fine.
Yeah, and at 21, only thing I can say at 21, I used to call myself Black Gold. That was my street name I gave myself. And at 21, I was in a black mold character, right? Like I was like from a black exploitation movie. I thought I was some superstar in the neighborhood. So, and then I was on the bus. So, that didn't work out. But anyway, I have a sense of humor now, but at 21, I wish that, I don't know. I just wish I would have just stayed the course of what my grandparents taught me to stay the course, become a working person and do the best you can do. But I made all that back up later on in my life. So I'm not really worried about it. I don't have too many regrets, but hindsight is always 20/20.
Yep. What is a favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book?
Well, this is my one of my original quotes. If you ever fall down in life, it's your duty to get right back up, because if you stay down too long, you may not have the strength to get back up.
What were the circumstances that had you create that or speak that for the first time? Well,
growing up, going through experiencing a lot of trauma, growing up as a young person, understanding when you live in the ghetto, you might be in a house where the lights are out. Sometimes you may not have no food to eat, 1 or 2 days. I've been through that kind of. I've gone through some of those kind of experiences. That's the reason I say that. And then also, I've had, I was able to kind of like pull myself up against all odds, and I've fallen down a couple of times in life, but I got right back up. I never stayed down at all. I got right back up. The thing is, if you can look up, they say you can get up or something like that. But the reality is that I try to encourage people to, get up and make something happen out of your life. I do believe in pulling yourself up from your bootstraps. So that's what really inspired me to come up with that type of slogan, or that type of, I just say the metaphor, whatever people want to define it as. I think it's a solid statement, because people really need to hear that, because some people feel that they fall down in life, they would always find themselves in a bad predicament the rest of their lives. Imagine all the people that did fall down and they never got it back together. So I think it's an inspirational message for the entire world.
Agreed. It really is the truth. You got to get back up.
Well, dealing with all the mental anguish, all the misunderstandings. When you don't know something, you just don't know it. So you might make some bad decisions, but that doesn't really define your entire life. You might have stumbled a couple of times, made a couple of mistakes, but that doesn't talk about who you really are. So you have to show people that, you made a transformation, you want to give back to society. And this might sound corny, but some people just don't get back up. The old story, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses, all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I say that because it sounds simple, but Humpty Dumpty couldn't get it back together. So I'm what you call a voice for the voiceless people that could not get it back together, because I could have been a statistic somewhere. So I'm very passionate about, raising the bar for everybody, men, women, people all over the universe.
Okay, I don't even know how you did that, but I know that nursery rhyme inside out. Heard it all my life, but I never listened to it from a philosophical point of view. that it was up to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when they say not all the king's horse, they couldn't put them back together again. I was just like, yeah, of course, it's an egg, it broke. But
Right.
now it's like, if you take it at a deeper level, you just had me look at it like it was deep, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait, you got to help yourself.
That's right. That's right. You got to help yourself. That's right, my sister.
Okay. What is a moment or event that highlights your experience as a Black man in the United States?
There have been some close calls with racism that I've experienced a little bit. By me being a light-skinned brother, it doesn't really. So I've never been a brother that was caught up in complexion or anything. My mother's a dark-skinned sister, kind of complexion of Wesley Snipes. My father was a light-skinned brother. Like I say, but I didn't really get to know him that well. But I was traveling down to Memphis one day. I had to drive through Little Rock, Benton, Arkansas, somewhere. I was going to Mississippi, actually, but I stopped in Memphis. I stopped in Arkansas. So I was stopped by a restaurant to grab something to eat. And the people, I was with my family. I had, back then I was married. Back then I had my wife and the kids with me. And, we sat down. They did seat us at the table, but they never came back out to wait on us. The hostess or the waitress, whatever, she just never came back. And I saw the people in the back talking. They were in a little huddle. So I stepped up to the counter. I said, "What's going on? Are you guys planning to come and take our order or what?" And they never responded. And I say, "Wow, man, this is kind of deep for me, because I had never really experienced it. I mean, I've experienced some racism before, but this was just straight up in my face, and it really, really it showed me and it signaled the fact, look, man, you're a Black man in America. Some people, they just don't accept African American people. See, I grew up in Chicago. I never really experienced racism in Chicago, but when I was driving south, that's what I did experience. And I can remember another time I stopped at a gas station in Indiana, Martinsville, Indiana, because I needed some directions. This is many, many years ago. The people I stopped by a gas station, which was next to a lounge or a motorcycle club. Big mistake, because I asked one of the guys for directions, and all the motorcycle bikers came outside, and they said, "Man, you need to get." Now, I'm not going to tell you what they told me, but they said, "You need to get from over here immediately." And, that manhood thing kicked in on me. I was with my girl at the time, and she said, "Come on and get in the car." It's not like I was going to take on no 40 people, because they were some motorcycle boys for real, okay? And
right.
But, we try to, our image is rough, man. So anything I've learned is that, pride goes before the fall. Even though I got in my car and I drove off, but I was, in the back of my head, I was saying, I wish my girl wasn't with me, because, man, you're not going to talk to me that way. You're not going to play with me. But look, I'm not the toughest guy in the universe either, because all tough people meet their match sooner or later. But anyway, those were two experiences of racism that I experienced directly. And there are a few more, but I just told you just two stories that stand out in my mind, because they had called me, the N-word and get on away from around here. And they threw a rock in my car when I drove off. And
wow.
Okay. Those are two experiences that signify the fact that I'm a Black man, no matter how I look. And then even now, when, I might put a suit and tie on, and you can walk downtown Chicago or in one of these white neighborhoods, which I have a lot of friends from all cultures and nationalities, but you walk across the street, you see a white person locking their car door. And I'm thinking, I got on my suit, I'm a professional looking brother. I think I'm, a cool guy, right? And you walk across the street, you hear somebody lock their door. So that, then even when you get on the elevator with people from different cultures, sometimes they looking at you funny and stuff, like, what are you doing here? So, I've been through some of those kind of experiences. So you always have to remember, wherever you go, you're a Black man in America. You don't know how things could turn out for you. Those are some of my experiences anyway.
Right. Yeah, you're not alone. I know there are people who want to think the kind of stuff you're describing is like from the way, way back in the day. What decade are we talking with the experience?
It wasn't that far. Benton, Arkansas, that was just in like 2015. That wasn't like back in the day.
Did you say? Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
2015?
Right. That was like, 6 years ago. That wasn't that far back.
Oh, you shocked me. See, I guess I'm one of the people I'm talking about, because I was, what?
Now, that just happened in Benton, Arkansas. And then that's the reason why I remember it, because I was driving through Benton to go on my way to Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, another thing is this here, the situation with the bikers, that did happen probably in the late, that probably happened in the mid 90s, so to speak. Okay, so that was some time ago there. But you got to understand the climate in the United States at the time. So, I never lived my life looking for any incidents like that to occur, but I'm always pretty much open-minded. I understand. things happen in life, and it's crazy. But God blessed me to come out of that situation over there in Martinsville, Indiana, because that's a very prejudiced town, and I didn't know that when I drove through there, but I did my research on the town. Very, very prejudiced place.
Mm. Okay, so have you had, well, first of all, let me just say, I already know the answer to this. I think the listeners know, because normally what I would ask is, have you had any interactions with law enforcement in the U.S.? So we already know the answer is yes, but is there one or two that you can share with us that might, put a spotlight either on something that you see is way too common or something that was, that people just don't realize is happening?
But first and foremost, I'm one of the brothers that stood up against police brutality and excessive force before it became popular. I was out there on the front line by myself here in Chicago, and the Department of Justice they conducted an investigation on the Chicago Police Department, and they found out that the Chicago Police Department was one of the most corrupt police departments in the United States. Now, it's two sides of the coin there, so let me just say this.
Yes.
When I was 17 years old, two uniformed police officers, they called me to come to their car. So, you go walk to the car, whatever. They asked me some directions, and I didn't answer fast enough. So the police hit me in the head with his billy club. And I can remember the pain that I experienced even today, because them billy clubs hurt, especially when they hit you in your head. Okay. And it was unprovoked. They just hit me in the head with the billy club. And I didn't know what to do. I felt bad, got angry, just felt bad. So I started looking at the police differently, back then, but then I've met some pretty decent police officers. So the thing about it, some people say we don't need the police, and some people say, okay, the police are okay. But my experience with the police has been 50-50. That's the only thing I can tell you, because if somebody was to surround your house with guns right now and start shooting up in your house, and you don't have a concealed carry or no open carry, depending on what state you live in, you're going to call the police, and the police are going to come running, and they're going to run right into gunshots. They do it police have done it on several occasions. So you have a lot of positive stories about the police. You have a lot of negative stories about the police. So we have to balance, do a balancing act with police out here. But I have to say this, there's a preponderance of evidence that 9 times out of 10, when a black man is killed, he's killed by a white police officer. So that's problematic. So cultural sensitivity is very important. You think about George Floyd, a black police officer. I would love to believe that if a black police officer had encountered George Floyd, he would have sat him on the curb and let the guy cool out for a minute, because Big George was claustrophobic. Big George was experiencing some type of breakdown at the time, and they tried to put him in the back of that police car. The man, he didn't want to go in there. And it was for an alleged counterfeit $20 bill. But this is the thing. Sit the man down. $20 bill as a police, I would have paid the people the $20, man. Take the $20, There's no sense in taking his brother through all this. You can see he might have had a drug problem or whatever the case may have been. And as a black man, I don't think I could have just stood on the sideline and allowed them to take that man's life. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I would put it like this. I'm not promoting any violence, but I would have had to do something to get the man off his neck. And I mean that with a passion. And no matter what, they probably would have arrested me. They would have arrested me, whatever. They might have beat me up. But if I had saved that man's life, I couldn't be out there just filming what happened to him and playing, just filming it. I couldn't have done that. You get off the man's neck, man. If you're not going to get off his neck, you're killing him. And the man called out his mother's name. They stayed on his neck for over 9 minutes. Give me a break. They would have had to come off that man's neck, baby girl. I just talked that way. So
No.
Yeah. You got me going.
And I hear the passion in your voice, and I also get who I'm talking to, because you put yourself in those kinds of situations.
Yes.
You put yourself in the middle of things that could turn pretty bad, pretty fast. Yes. And being that kind of person, I don't doubt that there would have been an action you would have seen to take and have taken in that situation. Please.
If you don't mind. Providing, I believe with my voice, I can't talk the way I would have talked out there, not on your podcast here, okay? I believe my voice alone would have caused that officer to get off that man's neck, because what I would have said, look, man, you're going to kill him. And see, the thing about it, if he would not have gotten off his neck, that's a different story. But the reality is that, let's say hypothetically, because I'm not going to talk about nobody else, what they would have, I know what I would have done.
Got it.
My thing is this here. The reality here is that if I would have got that officer off George Floyd's neck, the officer's career would have been saved. He wouldn't be going to the penitentiary. The other 3 officers, their careers would have been saved, and we would be okay today. So it would have been a win-win situation for everybody. George would have lived the officer's career. They would have been on the job today, but instead the man about to go, I don't know how much time they're going to give him, but he's on his way to the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the Twilight Zone because that's a whole new world when you get locked up in the penitentiary, okay?
Oh, yeah. And it's a different level Twilight Zone when you're that officer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, and what we're talking about right now, it points to something that's near and dear to me. And it's probably why I, just love what you're up to, because it's right up my alley of the power of voice and speaking and communication, because really what your whole movement is about, the interventions you do, they are dependent on recognizing the power of your voice. Like, that you're speaking. It goes back to that first instance when, some people from the hood came looking for, the debt that your brother owed, and you went to words. And, I think there's so much room for the average person to gain some, what do I want to say, to understand the power of words and the power of using their voice. And when you describe what you might have done there, like, say, you're going to kill him. Like there's a way you can say something that will jar a person, but you really have to be facile with language and know that it is powerful. And so I just acknowledge you for demonstrating every day that you're doing these interventions, the power of language.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. So, Tio, if the United States was a woman with whom you could speak, whether mother, lover, stranger, neighbor, whatever, what would you say to her?
Well, that's another power pack question. What I would say is that the United States is a great country, but we have to show more love and appreciation for that woman, which is the United States, and patience and understanding that change comes over time. Nothing's going to change overnight, but we need to continue to work for progressive change. And when you have a woman, you got to treat a woman a certain way and keep that lady on that pedestal. And as the United States, while we're here in the United States, let's keep the United States doing pretty good, because when you compare the United States to a lot of countries in the world, we're doing much better here in the United States than a lot of people are doing in some other countries. So that means you're in a good relationship to a degree, but all relationships have problems. But we need to really address this issue of criminal justice reform and the failed war on drugs, especially in the Black community. And that's what I would say to the woman, which is the United States, that we love you, but we got work to do.
For some reason, the way you just described all that, there was an image that came to my mind because of how you describe the relationship and treating her right. It's like saying, woman, you really are all that. You got it all. You got it going on, but this house is dirty.
That's what I'm talking.
We can't live like this.
Right. That's why I said what I said. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a clear picture. Okay. What is a moment in your life that exemplifies the meaning of love to you?
Oh, when I met my ex-wife, let's just put it like that. When I met my ex-wife, first time I saw her, I guess she had just, I don't know, she had some beautiful lady. I mean, super soul sister in my mind. She was, I met her at a restaurant, actually. And when I saw her, I couldn't take my eyes off her, and she couldn't take her eyes off me. It was like love at first sight. And we just clicked from that point on. And I knew something in my spirit that she would be the one. So to me, it was like magnified in the spirit, and she became my soulmate. And it's strange that I'm telling you this story because I want people to really understand this. And I believe in soulmates. So that's something that stood out that I knew was a loving moment, because we were in love for about a good 15 years, okay? And then before we divorced, I never got this vision before. I had a vision that she was leaving out of my right side, like out of my right rib. She was coming out of my right rib. God gave me a vision that it was over with. I was trying to push her back into my right rib, but she was coming out, which signified or symbolized the fact that it was, it was over with at the time, okay? no matter what happened, it was over with at the time. And so that was really something profound for me, because I never experienced that before like that. I mean, I literally had a vision of her coming out of my right rib.
That's powerful.
Yeah, people need to hear that. So I do believe a man and a woman, man, it's deep. You know, your soulmate is your soulmate. And that's what I'm about. And I love that one. You know, I love her. I respect of who she is. We're good friends now, but you know, we were in love for about 15 years, and it was solid. I mean, that's if you want to talk about a moment, that was the moment when I met her. I knew we was gonna be in love. I knew it, just like Steve Harvey said when he met his wife. The same thing he said at a show. He saw at the show. He knew he was gonna be with her. You know, and that's his wife today.
Right. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is a practice that has served you well in life? And please be as specific as you can. Like how, you know, what is it that you do? How often? And how did you discover or develop this practice?
Practice that helps me out is meditation. I discovered meditation, you know, through a friend of mine many years ago, a guy named Andrew. And he taught me how to meditate, how to get all the thoughts off my mind at times. Him and his wife, actually, his wife's name was Debbie, and Andrew, they taught meditation practices. And he would actually have me to lay on a mat sometimes with, you know, we had a few people in the session, and we would just he would tell me to go back to my childhood in my mind and think about yourself swinging on a swing at the park back when you was 10 years old. And I used to be so tired because I'm working, you know, 24. So every time I laid on the mat, I would go to sleep. And they'd have to wake me up because I was so tired all the time. But the thing is this here is that he taught me how to meditate. So I've carried on the practice over the years. So what I do now is once a week, I just turn my phone off and I just meditate on what's good in the world today. And there's no phone calls. I may take a few calls because I'm on call a lot, you know, but I don't go on social media once a week. I do not go on social media. I don't write anything up, no posts or anything like that. I do my best to limit. I don't call nobody, but if people call me, I'll take a call. And then I just meditate 1 hour out of each day. I mean, seriously, I just sit there for 1 whole hour because I truly believe that when people have to make decisions in their life, they shouldn't just make a jump decision. They should meditate for a minute or an hour before they make a decision, even think about it for a week sometimes. And so that's what I learned through meditation, is that take out a moment to really think about all the different aspects of the decision that you're about to make, because when you make a decision, it's not just you, it's your family that's a part of that decision as well. So I learned how to take into account my family members, my significant others, my kids, and extended family members. So therefore, I've learned how not to be selfish, in other words. Think about the bigger picture. So hopefully I described that, you know, to the best of my ability as more detail.
Oh, yeah, no, that's very clear. And, you know, just interacting with you as we got this interview set up, I know you're doing this and doing that and in demand. And that you find the time. No, I'm sorry. Did I say find? That you make the time to meditate every day. That's a big deal. That's cool to know. And the other thing I love that you said was that you think on what's good in the world.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds kind of simple, but honestly, I'll speak for myself. I'm so in the habit of catching what's bad on the news, you know, and what's not working, that the idea of just focusing on what's good, that sounds almost, that sounds life-changing, just to make it a point. I honestly, for myself, I think if I just spend 5 minutes a day just focusing on what's good in the world to remind myself that, what delight.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. Well, I do have one last question. Tio, what did you get for yourself out of participating in this interview?
Well, a moment of reflection, going back into some of the previous years of my life, and being able to talk about it with a better understanding of each experience, which is important as you reflect on decisions that were made, like when I was younger, what happened to me, some of my experiences, because we all made up as a sum of all of our experiences in life. That's what molds us into the people we are today. So I got a chance to actually talk to you, or you put it like this, answer your questions. And I wouldn't normally go that deep, but, you know, I think, you know, I'm one of the people that, one of the kind of people, in other words, you have to own whatever it is about yourself. so it can set you free. See, when people try to duck issues and try to run around the block and not address the issues, that's why I'm free when I talk about everything, because it's my life. I'm not imitating nobody. I'm not trying to duplicate nobody. This is my story, and I don't have a problem sharing my story. But, as you think back on where you come from, that's what helped me out talking to you today as well, because I've come a long way. And if I can be an inspiration to other people, let them know, look here. Yeah, I grew up in the heart of the ghetto. I grew up in a lot of extreme poverty. People don't know that. But if I was able to pull myself up and come up out of that type of situation, other people worldwide can do the same. So it helped me really understand how far I came. All right.
Yeah, that's great. That I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I'm always left at the end of an interview with, something that just stands out about each brother. And there's so many things about you. First of all, you are unapologetic. And I mean that in the best way. You are unapologetically Tio, and it is a powerful way to be in the world. It allows other people to see that and then be their own fully self-expressed person. So thank you for being the space where other people can just feel free to be themselves wholly and completely. No airs, no, you know what I mean? Just real and love. So thank you, Tio, for taking the time to have this conversation with me today.
I appreciate it. And I would love to sing a little note before I leave, if you don't mind.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, because I'm not a professional singer. I just want to send something out there for all the ladies.
Go ahead.
Here, little Kim. Here we go. It makes any difference. I'm still in love with you, girl. You're my weakness. You change my world. Share my life. Share. Hey, girl, you can trust in me, baby. You're all I want, baby. You're everything I need. Ooh, baby. That's just a little something for you.
Hey, I love it. You should see me. I was over here.
That's right. Yeah, my voice was a little strained because I've been talking a while, but yeah, that's a little something, okay?
No, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. I can't wait to leave. I'm trying to decide, do I want to lead with that? Remember, you can follow us on Instagram at 365 Brothers. Also, follow us on Facebook at 365 Brothers, the podcast. Lastly, I just want to let you know, producing a podcast, it takes something, and I'm really grateful to have partnered with Alitu.com. They make publishing easy. There's a link in the show notes for anyone who either has a podcast or is thinking about a podcast. You don't need to learn all that sound balancing and compression. Save all that. Use your time for what matters, interviewing and sharing the stories that your podcast brings. Thank you for listening to 365 Brothers. I certainly hope you enjoyed the episode. I encourage you to subscribe. Please leave a review. I want to know what you think. Also, if you know someone who would be a fantastic guest for 365 Brothers, please direct them to our website, 365brothers.com. You'll also find all the episodes there, 365brothers.com, and your support is welcome. And remember, to listen is to love.